The Thanksgiving table stretched across Grandma's formal dining room, seating 24 family members surrounded by turkey and tension. My sister Victoria stood at the head, holding a printed spreadsheet like it was a sacred document. Behind her, Mom beamed with approval while my brother Derek nodded along to every word. I sat near the middle with my husband Ryan, quietly cutting my sweet potatoes while Victoria distributed copies of her plan to everyone present. As you all know, Victoria began, her voice taking on that authoritative tone she'd perfected in her marketing job. Grandma Eleanor passed away 6 months ago. She left behind an incredible real estate portfolio: the Cape Cod beach house, the Denver ski condo, the Scottsdale retirement villa, and the Portland townhouse. 4 properties across the country, worth approximately $2.8 million combined. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the room. Aunt Linda wiped her eyes with a napkin. Uncle Robert raised his wine glass in tribute to Grandma's financial success. Now, Victoria continued, Grandma's will was vague about the specifics. She said her properties should benefit the family. So Derek, Mom, and I have created a fair distribution plan. She clicked a pen dramatically. The Cape Cod house goes to Mom. She's always loved the beach, and as Grandma's daughter, she deserves the prime property. The Denver condo goes to Derek and his wife since they have kids who ski. Scottsdale goes to me and James because we need a winter escape. And the Portland townhouse will be sold, with proceeds divided among the cousins for education funds. My cousin Sarah, sitting across from me, looked thrilled. That's so generous. Grandma would love knowing we're all benefiting. Exactly, Victoria said, smiling warmly. We're keeping everything in the family just as Grandma wanted. These homes belong to all of us. We'll share expenses, coordinate schedules, and preserve her legacy together. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. What about Melissa? She's not on this list. All eyes turned to me. I took a sip of water and said nothing. Victoria's smile tightened slightly. Melissa has her own career, her own resources. She's a trust attorney, makes excellent money. She doesn't need Grandma's properties like the rest of us do. Besides, she was always so busy with work that she rarely visited Grandma anyway. That's not true, Ryan said quietly beside me, but I touched his hand to stop him. It's fine, I said calmly. Victoria's made her decision. I understand. Mom leaned forward, her expression sympathetic in that condescending way that wasn't sympathetic at all. Sweetheart, you understand, don't you? You have that lovely condo in the city. You don't need a beach house or ski property. Victoria and Derek have families to think about, children to create memories with. You and Ryan are it's just the two of you. Just the two of us. As if our childless marriage made us less worthy of family property. Derek jumped in, his voice conciliatory. Plus, Mel, you're always working. When would you even use a vacation house? These properties need people who actually spend time in them, maintain them, make them feel lived in. We're doing you a favor, really, Victoria added. No maintenance responsibilities, no property tax headaches, no coordination with family schedules. You're free to focus on your career. Aunt Linda nodded approvingly. It's very mature of you to understand, Melissa. Some people would be selfish about this, but you're putting family first. I smiled politely and returned to my sweet potatoes. Ryan's jaw was clenched, but he stayed quiet as I'd asked him to. The doorbell rang, interrupting Victoria's detailed explanation of the expense-sharing formula she'd created. She frowned, annoyed at the interruption during her presentation. Who could that be? Mom asked. We're not expecting anyone else. I'll get it, I said, standing and walking toward the front door. I opened it to find 3 people in professional attire. Catherine Morrison, my senior partner at the law firm, James Chin, our firm's real estate specialist, and Patricia Donovan, the estate executor. All 3 carried leather briefcases and wore expressions of polite formality. Ms. Morrison, Catherine said with a slight smile. We're right on time. Perfect timing, I agreed, leading them into the dining room. The conversation died as 24 family members stared at the newcomers. Victoria's spreadsheet hung forgotten in her hand. Everyone, I said clearly. This is Catherine Morrison, senior partner at Morrison & Associates. James Chin, our real estate specialist. And Patricia Donovan, the executor of Grandma Eleanor's estate. They're here to clarify some details about the inheritance. Victoria's face had gone pale. What details? Everything's already been decided. Actually, Patricia said, opening her briefcase and pulling out official documents, nothing has been decided. Because you don't have the authority to decide anything. She placed a thick document on the table, Grandma's actual trust agreement, sealed and notarized. Eleanor Morrison established a revocable living trust in 2018, 5 years before her death. The trust holds all 4 properties, plus her investment accounts and personal assets. The trust clearly designates a successor trustee and outlines specific distribution instructions. Mom reached for the document with shaking hands. A trust? She never mentioned a trust. She mentioned it to me, I said quietly. Because I helped her create it. That's what trust attorneys do. The silence in the room was absolute. Catherine stepped forward. Eleanor came to our firm in 2018, specifically requesting Melissa as her attorney. She wanted to protect her properties, ensure they were properly managed and prevent family disputes. Melissa spent 6 months working with her to structure the trust perfectly. The trust, James Chin continued, pulling out property deeds, holds all 4 properties in Eleanor's name as trustee. Upon her death, ownership transfers automatically to the successor trustee. No probate, no court involvement, no family vote. Derek found his voice. Who's the successor trustee? Patricia smiled slightly. Melissa Morrison. Eleanor named her granddaughter as successor trustee with full authority over all trust assets. You could have heard a pin drop. That's impossible, Victoria said, but her voice wavered. Grandma wouldn't cut out her own daughter. She wouldn't give everything to Melissa. She didn't give everything to Melissa, I corrected. She gave me authority to manage everything according to her wishes. There's a difference. Catherine pulled out another document. The trust includes detailed distribution instructions. Eleanor was very specific about her intentions. She read from the document. My Cape Cod beach house shall be maintained as a family gathering property, accessible to all family members through a reservation system managed by the trustee. My Denver ski condo shall be rented commercially, with proceeds funding education accounts for grandchildren and great-grandchildren. My Scottsdale villa shall be sold, with proceeds establishing a charitable foundation in my name. My Portland townhouse shall remain as the trustee's primary residence in recognition of her care and legal expertise. Mom's face had gone from pale to red. Her primary residence? Melissa gets to live in a $600,000 townhouse for free. Not for free, James clarified. The trust designates it as compensation for trustee duties, which include managing the other properties, coordinating family access to Cape Cod, overseeing the Denver rental and administering the charitable foundation. These are significant responsibilities requiring substantial time and expertise. This is fraud, Derek said, standing up abruptly. Melissa manipulated Grandma. She's a lawyer. She knew exactly how to take advantage of an elderly woman. Eleanor was 74 when she created this trust, Patricia said coolly. Hardly elderly. She was sharp, independent, and very clear about her wishes. I witnessed the signing personally. She was completely competent. She was also completely aware of family dynamics, I added. She told me explicitly that she worried about fighting over properties. She wanted them used and managed properly, not divided up like spoils of war. Victoria's hands were shaking. You let us plan everything. You sat here and listened to me present the distribution plan. You didn't say anything. I wanted to see what you'd do, I said honestly. Whether you'd bother to check the actual legal documents before dividing up properties you assumed were up for grabs. You didn't. You just assumed Mom would inherit everything and that you could distribute it however you wanted. Because that's how inheritance works. Victoria shouted. Parents inherit, then they decide what's fair for their children. Catherine explained, that's how inheritance works when someone dies without a will. But Eleanor did have a plan. She made everything clear. Uncle Robert asked, so Melissa controls everything? All 4 houses. I follow Grandma's instructions, I said. The Cape Cod house is open for the whole family. Derek's kids can use the Denver condo. You just book it online. The charity fund will support causes Grandma cared about and family can help decide grants. Mom snapped, but you get the Portland townhouse. You live free and we get nothing. Mom doesn't get nothing, I said. Derek's kids get education funds. Everyone gets Cape Cod access. The community gets a foundation. That is something. Victoria wiped her eyes. It's not what we wanted. It's not fair. Fair. I repeated. Your plan gave you a $400,000 condo. Derek got a $550,000 ski place. Mom got a $900,000 beach house. And I got nothing because I'm a lawyer with no kids. You called that fair? She said nothing. Grandma's plan gives everyone something. And yes, I get paid for months of legal work and for managing everything. That's fair. Patricia said, the trust is solid. If anyone challenges it, they lose all benefits. No Cape Cod access, no education funds. Derek sank down. Victoria cried. Mom stared at the table. Aunt Linda said softly, Eleanor knew exactly what she was doing. She did, I agreed. She knew you'd fight, argue, and expect inheritance. So she created rules to stop that. Mom glared. By giving you control. She gave me responsibility, I said. The trust owns everything, not me. I can't sell anything or change anything. I must follow her rules. Ryan spoke. Melissa spent every Sunday with Eleanor for years. He helped her. The rest of you only came on holidays. She manipulated her. Victoria shouted. No, Ryan said. She cared. The lawyers packed up. If anyone has questions, talk to Melissa. Thanksgiving was basically over. People got up in silence. Some glared at me. Some avoided me. At the door, Victoria said coldly, I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family. I followed Grandma's wishes, I said. Derek left. Then Mom stopped briefly. She was my mother. She should have left things to me. She did, I said. She gave you Cape Cod access, education support for the kids, and a foundation in her name. She just didn't give you control. She left. Ryan and I cleaned up quietly, papers, glasses, untouched food. He asked, Are you okay? I am, I said. Grandma warned me. She said the family would blame me. But protecting her legacy mattered more. My phone buzzed. A Cape Cod reservation had already been made. Derek's wife booking a week for the kids. They'd be angry about the trust for months, maybe years. But they'd still use the properties. They'd still benefit from Grandma's careful planning. They just wouldn't control it. And that, Grandma had told me during our final conversation, was exactly the point. Family will always want what they think they deserve, she'd said. Your job is to protect what I actually intended. Can you do that? I'd promised I could. And as I filed the trust documents in my home office, scheduled maintenance for the Cape Cod property, and reviewed applications for the charitable foundation, I kept that promise. The properties remained exactly where Grandma wanted them. Protected by trust law, managed by someone she trusted, and available to family who'd finally learned they couldn't just divide up what they wanted. The documents proved it. And documents, unlike family assumptions, didn't lie.